щелк.
Доброго дня, шановні колеги.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. We continue our working day at Ukraine Crisis Media Center, and the topic of the next press briefing is State Concern Ukroboronprom, a science memorandum on cooperation with the new American advisor. Our guests are Anthony Tether, Director of Tony Tether and Associates, Romanov, General Director of Ukroboronprom, and Gurak, Deputy General Director, and Igor Pasternak, Roscraft Company representative. Denis, you are given the floor. Please turn on the microphone. Good afternoon. I am Denis Gurak. I am Deputy Director of Ukroboronprom. And I would like to tell you about our colleagues. I would like to tell you that we believe that this event is really remarkable in the history, not only in the history of Ukroboronprom, but also in the history of Ukrainian state, that is now under the threat we know all about. And I would like to present our main guest. This is Anthony Tether. He is a former director of DERPA. This is defense organization that develops not only technologies, but also the strategy of development of these technologies. And this is the main area of our cooperation, and we believe that our potential and American potential will create synergy effect, not only in defense sphere, but also in other adjacent areas. And we understand that this cooperation will help Ukraine to become the world leader in this field. So I would like to give the floor to Romanov, who will tell you the main idea and what is going on and why this cooperation is so important for us. Good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank Anthony and Igor that they are here with us today in this studio and that they are in Ukraine. And for Ukroboronprom, this is a very important moment, because dynamics that we see in the defense sphere, we see now, and there were some demonstrations during parade, and you could see this parade, our military units. This is fantastic, and I believe that all the world saw our military readiness, and Ukroboronprom aims to provide our military forces with good equipment. And as of today, we are solving operative tasks, but we look into the future, and our task and the task of Ukroboronprom is to identify what types of military equipment is needed for our military forces in 3 or 5 years, in order that our army was well equipped with modern means, and this will allow to help our defenders. And here present is the former DARPA head, and this is an innovative structure that allows United States to be the leader in the production field. And today we sign a document in accordance with which Anthony Tether is the advisor of Ukroboronprom, and according to this document, we will get the most accurate and timely information about technologies. We will be able to look into the future. And at the beginning of my speech, I said that this will provide strength and might of our military forces, and this will support the independence of our state. And this work, this cooperation, will help not only to the army of Ukraine, but also it will help for our company Ukroboronprom to be effective, because we work on external markets also, and it is important for us really. So Ukroboronprom works in all oblasts of Ukraine, and in our defense sector, every Ukrainian knows or his relatives work in defense area enterprises, and we have 80,000 people working in our enterprise, and 200,000 people working in defense sphere. So we should identify the directions for our work, and we will do it together with Tony. And we hope that this cooperation will be effective, efficient, and the equipment that our forces will get in some period will meet the highest standards, highest world standards. Thank you, Roman Anatolievich. And the cooperation between the United States and Ukraine improves, and I would like to give the floor to our speaker, Igor Pasternak. You know him well because his company was one of the first US companies who came into Ukraine, in the market of Ukraine, that provides us with technology we are lacking. Not only supply, but they are ready to share the experience and to work together to create innovative products in the territory of Ukraine, and Igor will tell us about it later. And I give the floor to Anthony Tether, please.
Well, thank you very much, Roman, Dennis. The other day, Ukraine celebrated its 25th anniversary of independence, and I was at the parade. And I'd like to say that the breadth and depth I saw was really incredible. I mean, it not only had many organizations, but you had the feeling that we were only seeing the tip of the iceberg. I thought the parade gave a great message to the world. The American people, like no other, know how important it is for the country, for its development, in achieving the most desirable goals with regard to independence. 25 years ago, Ukraine was separated and is now part of the world of independence. But in actuality, I believe that the last couple of years, the current crisis, is really what brought the country together, where the country really realized that independence does not come for free. Now, this happened in the U.S. The U.S. history, as you all know, we separated from the British. And roughly 25 years later, they came back and they burned down Washington. And burning down Washington, that war we had with them, taught the whole country, which by then was a bunch of states, but it really did integrate them into one United States, where we realized that, again, independence does not come free. The memorandum we're about to sign is a great memorandum. Its purpose is to really
Це чудовий
look at the country as a whole and see what we can do to have the country have integrated synergistic capability so that its defense industry can compete in the world. And as well, from the defense world comes many, many commercial products, which will also make Ukraine very powerful as a influx of income. I really believe this memorandum is really beneficial to everyone, and it's really one of those cases that we sometimes say that we're going to add 2 + 2, and we're going to get a 5 out of it. I am absolutely glad to cooperate with Ukroboronprom. Of course, I've got to learn how to pronounce this. So let's say Defense Services. But today we start writing a new page in the history of the rapid development of the defense complex of Ukraine and its impact on Ukraine as a whole. So thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to this.
Thank you, Dr. Tether. Really pleasure. It's a really big pleasure for us also to have you here. Igor, please. Igor Pasternak, founder of Aeroscraft.
Thank you, Denis. I'm not first time in this room, and first time we start cooperating with Ukroboronprom over a year ago. And honestly, over this year and a half, the progress, the dedication, what we saw from Ukroboronprom, it's simply unbelievable, simply unbelievable. As you know, we start with delivery of the surveillance systems for Azov Sea. It's coming online right now. And we continue looking for new opportunity. And as right now, some time ago, Mr. Romanov and Denis started talking with us about to bring the joint venture to start building the aerostat systems in Ukraine. And not just building, start to develop them. And recently, as all of you know, Ukrainian parliament passed a new law what allow to us to move forward. And this will be really American-Ukrainian company who will do, again, not just assembly, it will do the full design cycle, constructional cycle, operational cycle. And of course, we're excited. And what is make today really, really incredible, it's Tony, Dr. Tether with us today. And the interesting part, Tony more than 15 years. And this every day what I know him, it's not just know someone special, it's the honor to working with him. And when some time ago Tony was saying to me, hey, let's look, perhaps I can be useful to make Ukraine a little bit better. And I remember when September 11 happened in the United States, and Tony was just started to be director of the DARPA. I remember this moment when Tony was saying, hey, perhaps I can do something better. And honestly, for me, it's the big sign. For me personally, as friend of Tony, and Tony today in Ukraine, I know it will be better. Thank you so much.
Дякую, Ігоре. Дійсно.
Thank you very much. I would like to tell you again how important for us is this day and this event for Ukrainian defense industry and science. This is a historical landmark of starting the actual, real cooperation between US and Ukraine schools. And on this positive tune, I would like to invite Mr. Romanov and Mr. Tether to sign the document today.
Дякую ще раз, панове. І у нас є
Thank you, dear audience. We have 10 minutes for the session of questions and answers. You are welcome. Roman Borsh, Espresso TV.
Anthony, Mr. Anthony, did you observe the shortcomings of our Ukraine defense industry, and maybe how will your first steps to fix it? Thank you.
Well, I'm really in the process of learning how your defense industry operates internally, and not just the defense industry that makes products, but the part of the defense industry that actually makes the new products and does the research. When you come in and try to add something new to make it more effective, you really do need to first understand the culture to make sure that you are unnecessarily trying to change a culture on your way, because if you do, you never will get there. So I will have a better answer for you in 6 months to a year.
Я бачу наступне запитання. Секунду.
See the next question. We have the next question.
Capital Intelligence Group. My question is for all three panelists. We're seeing some interest, but just the beginning of U.S. direct investment into the Ukrainian defense industry. Will that happen with you, Mr. Romanov? And can they start with the civilian sector first and then maybe go to the military sector? This would tie in the U.S. and Ukrainian defense, maybe even put you into the NATO procurement area. And M&A is the fastest way to do things. And also, it helps on corruption because American companies have obligations in the FCPA, which is a criminal offense if you bribe public officials. So this gets two birds with one stone. Thank you.
As concerns civilian sector of economy, we should understand that as a result of those events which are now happening in our country, Ukroboronprom is forced to change the program of receiving equipment and components which we used previously, having traditional suppliers, and we have a program of import product replacements, and our results, our steps, I told about that already, except 80,000 staff in our company. In all regions of Ukraine, components and materials are produced. They are most of enterprises which are civilian enterprises in other sectors of economy. They produce plastic, paints, glass, and components of many types of weaponry. So the work which you are talking about, whether it would have influence, will this touch the civilian sector of economy? Yes, it is already so, and I think that our joint work, it will also have products will be sell also on other marketplaces in other sectors as concern our corruption. We often face this question, and information war is now in action, and I think it is ongoing. And except ATO war, we have also information war, and our politicians, our bureaucrats at top level, they often announce, declare some steps, but they are not implemented in fact. But I sign messages to law enforcement bodies every day, and I have maximum desire that persons sometimes would like to grab something which they are not legally entitled to. So I try to stop corruption. I think that we should talk about corruption cases only when the cases are already brought to trial, to the court sessions, and popularization of such events, dissemination, it hampers our development and worsens the situation in our society. The position of Ukroboronprom is very firm as concerns corruption. We combat it. You know that electronic platforms in 2015 were launched. Prozoro was launched in 2015, and all Ukroboron enterprises also launched the system of electronic procurement. So KPI also system has been launched. This is assessment of performance of the management of our enterprises. We work adhering to the principles which are common in the whole world, and our model of activities of which we have already talked in this room, and Mr. Pasternak and Mr. Tether discussed that, and they accepted our proposals also because of this factor that U.S. party saw potential in our relations. Thank you.
I've been asked, why am I interested in doing this? And actually it comes down to a very simple fact, that if it wasn't for Ukraine, I would never have had the job in DARPA. Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, as you all know, back in the 50s, and we're a prime mover in creating two things, a booster and a satellite called Sputnik. And the launch of that satellite called Sputnik was an enormous wake-up call to the United States. We were in the process of building a multi-billion-dollar air defense system, which suddenly was taken away by a little thing that went around the world and went beep, beep, beep. All really traced back to the people at Ukraine, who were always the brightest star in the Soviet Union. President Eisenhower, when he tried to find out why that happened, all the services had a space program. The Army had one, the Air Force had one, the Navy had one, but in digging to it was very low priority. It was something new. It wasn't quite what they wanted to do. And any time they needed money, they would take money out of the new thing. So he created an organization called ARPA to never let that happen again to the United States, by having an organization similar to Roman's organization to make sure that the United States would never be surprised again, and was always on the top of developing technology that was also good for the national security and good for commercial. So in some sense, I'm here paying back my career to the people who really were very, very bright stars. Pains, when we used to think of the things that they invented that caused us problems, but But we were glad to see you get independence 25 years ago, and you really are following the parallelism of the United States on how we started. So I know it didn't answer anywhere near your question, but I wanted to say that.
Please allow me just to comment on the translation. Саме DARPA була створена згідно
DARPA was created, as Mr. Tether said, after American science and politicians knew about the launch of Sputnik. That was the first that was developed in Ukraine, and rocket also that was developed in Ukraine. That's why he believes that this is a symbolic moment. He says that he is the person and the specialist, and there is a symbolic meaning of this all. Thank you.
You already answered this question. It's absolutely. The presence of US company, yes, is the road to block the corruption. The presence of US company is way to bring new way of doing business, to be ensure Ukraine defense industry will be always ready. The problems why it's not happening, and perhaps here the media, you guys, who can really be big contributor and make this happening, it's understanding of Ukrainian lawmakers of the limitation. For example, today Ukrainian law not allow to us to any direct investment to Ukrainian defense company. There's a lot of talk about this, but for some reason, and again I want to repeat it, perhaps you media can make this happen, to explain to lawmaker in some way as DARPA was created to answer for Soviet Sputnik, and the way it will be another military surprise from Soviet Union. Perhaps the US companies in defense sector stepping in Ukraine is the answer if Russia will try to aggression again. On different levels, it will be never happen as before. But the main problem as today is the law. If Ukrainian law will allow to do this, if Ukrainian law will allow to us to have direct investment, directly working with Ukrainian companies, we can perhaps do a lot of positive change.
Thank you, Igor. I just wanted to confirm that none of the American companies wanted to bribe us. Тому, друзі, дякую.
Thank you very much. Maybe time flows fast. We are ready to answer the questions off records. Thank you.